After being out for over 8 years, Rocket League has solidified itself as a major game not only in the pro scene but also amongst the gaming community as a whole. With hundreds of millions of total players and over 5 million players active on a daily basis, it's no surprise that Rocket League still cultivates such a large audience. But why is that? Rocket League at its core is just soccer with cars that can fly. It's such a simple concept that surely it would get boring very quickly. So why does everyone keep playing? Whether it be the pursuit of a new rank, learning a new trick, or just having fun with your friends, this seemingly simple concept of a game possesses an endless limit of possibility that very few games have been able to achieve. And it's that one word that keeps players coming back every time: possibility. With endless possibility, there's always the extra drive to become better, and it's the pursuit of greatness that enthralls us in this game. But I would be lying if in that pursuit of perfection there wasn't times where it seemed like the obstacles ahead were just impossible to overcome, or that maybe even took a break from the game as a whole. But here we are anyways, still playing to this day. The journey for many Rocket League players has become so long at this point that we don't even remember some of the best moments of our Rocket League careers. So join me on this trip today, no matter how much you've played, as we follow the journey of a Rocket League player from 0 hours to over 10,000 hours played in this wonderful game. Before we start from the beginning, it's important to note something. In order to give this video a unique perspective, I decided to show the Rocket League player's journey in increments of hours rather than rank. Part of the reason for this is as follows. No one's journey is the same. Everybody ranks up in different amounts of times, so the higher rank you are, the less likely you are to reach that rank in the same amount of time as someone else. So if you're a higher rank in less time, good for you. Here's a gold star. And if you're lower rank, then what I would say is that's perfectly okay because everyone progresses through the game differently. This also means that not everyone will perfectly relate to this video with 100% accuracy because everyone has such a different experience. But when I try to combine all of these factors into a quote-unquote average player's experience, this was my final result. The first 10 hours in Rocket League might be the most precious to look back on. At this point, you just loaded the game up for the first time, and as you go through tutorials, the excitement for that first game is unmatched. In the first 10 hours is where you find the happiest of Rocket League players. They are content with just being in the game and occasionally hitting the ball, unaware of the journey that lies ahead. I'm sure most people barely even touch ranked in the first 10 hours, but if they do, they're likely in bronze. The difference between 10 and 50 hours is probably a lot greater than most people would realize. I think the greatest difference between 10 and 50 hours comes down to the fact that someone with 50 hours of experience has 5 times the hours played as someone with 10. At 50 hours, you finally start to become more comfortable with the controls and are able to hit most balls that aren't in the air. This extra confidence gives you more motivation to keep playing and get better. Players in this range have also probably tried aerials, but have been very inconsistent and unsuccessful as a whole. It's also in this time range where the grind starts to focus on ranked just a little bit more. After 50 hours, you're likely in high silver or gold. This gives the player a false sense of hope as ranking up in the future becomes exponentially more difficult. Past hour 50 is where I think the realization of the grind involving this game starts to really set in for most players. The ranked grind starts to slow down as you finally get ever so slightly hard stuck somewhere between gold 3 and platinum 1, but hard stuck will have a totally different meaning later on. This is where the term consistency finally has meaning. Whether the lesson is learned now or later down the road, it becomes apparent in platinum and beyond that the best players are always the most consistent with their skills. At this stage, you've also probably started watching YouTube tutorials on how to half flip and air dribble, even though air dribbling isn't important until much later. It's a process of trial and error trying to figure out the mechanics and style of play that works best for your skill level. But it's all part of the learning process and there's still so much more to learn. Hour 100. The grind starts to kick in and you become obsessed with perfection. This is a tricky time to be a Rocket League player because you understand the basics of high-level play, but you lack all of the experience to do so. But in your eyes, you're becoming the perfect player and you become obsessed with perfection. You're probably somewhere around Platinum 3 to Diamond 1, and every mistake you or your team makes feels like it has exponentially more weight on the outcome of a game. The margin of error is still massive, but compared to what it was just a rank ago, it feels so much smaller. Perhaps some seed of doubt begin to set in on if the glorified ranks of Grand Champ and SSL are even achievable, but usually those doubts are overshadowed by the cool new mechanic you just learned. A lot of people in this area start to understand the importance of rotation and defense, but they still rarely practice it or actually do it in game. Things start to get toxic from here as the rank ups are few and far between. This is what I would call the dark ages for almost every Rocket League player. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and most of the reasons honestly come from the prestige Grand Champ has received throughout the game's history. When anyone starts the game, the goal is almost always to make it to Grand Champ. In the eyes of a player, it's like beating the game. Well, between 300 to 1000 hours, most people are stuck in Champ, desperately trying to get to Grand Champ. Now, I've already covered why Champ is the worst rank in Rocket League previously, so if you want to watch that video, please check the description for the link. But either way, I'll give you a brief synopsis of why Champ is such a mentally taxing rank. For one, Champ has been the most toxic rank in the game for a long time. The constant bombardment of threats and insults by opponents and even teammates is mentally draining as you continue to try and improve. Also, leading all the way up to Champ, everyone has used vastly different methods to win and climb the ranks. Whether it be mechanics, rotations, or consistency, you need all three to get past Champ. This means the longest time period of grinding any player has seen up to this point with minimal progress only being short term. That minimal progress is one of the most infuriating and defeating feelings. Additionally, being so close to Grand Champ gives every player a sense of urgency to rank up because of how close they are. This makes people extra sensitive to lackluster performances by themselves or their teammates. The 1000 to 3000 hours played time period is like a saving grace-esque transitional period for a lot of players. All of the hours spent grinding the Grand Champ are starting to pay off. Everything is starting to become more consistent and your mechanics keep getting better. Most people will likely be reaching Grand Champ in this time range, and the feeling of getting Grand Champ is likely one of the greatest feelings someone can have in this game. Reaching this new threshold of ranks either causes people to play the game less as they have achieved their goal, or they try and continue the pursuit of becoming better. Either way, the confidence boost helps moving forward. The 3000 to 5000 hour range in Rocket League feels like a dead zone of sorts. Most people in this range have little motivation regarding competitive rank, but continue to grind this game and work more on mechanical skill. Their game sense has reached near perfection and consistency in their mechanics start to plateau. This allows for some people to get into other passions besides competitive Rocket League, such as freestyling. Most people will have tried to freestyle before this, but lack the mechanics to do so. The rank range is really anywhere in Grand Champ, but some people will stop playing the game altogether at this point as the feeling of accomplishment really starts to diminish. Most people that continue playing Rocket League this long are determined to grind to SSL and reach the pinnacle of ranks. SSL takes a great level of determination, focus, and a wide skill set to reach. Given these criteria, it's not surprising that a lot of people will reach a feeling of burnout in this time range. After all, 5000 to 10,000 hours played in a game is the same time range as all of the previous time ranges I mentioned in this video combined. Some people will reach SSL prior to 10,000 hours played, while others will still be as low as Grand Champ 1. The grind in these ranks is slow with little improvements over long periods of time, not leaving much to show for encouragement. Personally, I have a lot of respect for people with this many hours in the game because the dedication required to reach 5k hours in the game is impressive to say the least. There's a classic saying that in order to master a skill, you have to spend over 10,000 hours practicing, and that statement holds true in Rocket League as well. People beyond 10,000 hours are the best of the best when it comes to mechanics, rotation, and game sense. Almost everyone is in SSL, with all pros and successful freestyles also residing in this time range. At this point, they have done almost everything, if not all they wanted to accomplish, so they purely play the game for their own enjoyment. It's the peak of Rocket League, and for good reason too. At this point, you can really work to become a freestyler like the members of Pulse Clan, or become a pro like Zen. Most people in this range don't really care about ranked anymore and probably focus more on 6mans, which is a Discord run 3v3 pro amateur ranking server. Regardless, I will always have respect for these people as doing anything for 10,000 hours requires a respectable level of dedication. And with that, the journey comes to an end. Feel free to share your Rocket League journey in the comments below, and if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe as it helps me out tremendously. And with that, I'll see you next time.